Hi, Daniel, Yarkon. Thanks for joining. I hope you can hear me.
Hey, it's over here. Daniel will be back in a minute.
Okay.
Great meeting you. I'm gonna turn on the video in a moment.
Same here. So.
Hi there.
Hi, Terry. Hi, Georg.
Hi, hi.
So, Terry, I have a question while we wait others to join. I responded your comments on HackMD, this proof of concept document. Did you receive notification?
No, I couldn't see where you'd updated those. Perhaps if you can send me a link, I'll check.
Yeah, because like it's always a question for me. Like if the comments people put like you commented there, I commented, if it sends notifications. I can't find share screen. Okay. So I'll send the link as well, but yeah, I've seen your comments here because I originally thought you put comments on the pull request and I couldn't see them. And then I checked this document, I've seen your comments and I responded, but I wasn't sure if you got notification.
Yeah, no, I didn't get any notification on that, so I'll go and check those.
Okay. Maybe we can perhaps move this, turn this into a pull request on the repo to make sure we get notifications and have the dialogue on GitHub. Because this was just a document to start the conversation. But yeah, we can talk about this once we have the presentation demo from Daniel and Omar. Let me check what we have here. So we have 9 people. Welcome everyone. Sorry for talking about the out of agenda topic at the beginning. So I see we have quite few people, so we can slowly start with the agenda bashing and then look at other topics we have on the agenda. And let me put the link for our meeting document on the chat so people can log their attendance. So welcome again, everyone. On the agenda today, we have action item review and followed up with a presentation demo from Daniel and Omer on top 10 CI/CD security risks and CI/CD code. And I see both of them here. And the next 2 topics are the topics we have been talking about last couple of weeks or since the beginning of the SIG. the discussion around starting this proof of concept, and I have some news about how we can start with that, as well as some comments there from Liora, Erhan, Emil, and Terry. And then finally, the topic on a pull request I sent to Special Interest Group Interoperability Pipeline Stages Steps terminology. And then if there are other topics, we can take them if the time allows. So before, instead of spending so much time, perhaps we can directly move to the presentation and demo from Daniel and Ömer, because we don't have any action item. And then I stop sharing. So Daniel, Ömer, you can take over the sharing. So while you do that, maybe I can perhaps say a few words why I reached out to Daniel and kind of spammed him on LinkedIn, because I've seen the white paper you released, Daniel, Ömer, on this top 10 CI/CD security risks, which got my interest, because that is kind of one of the topics we are talking within our SIG as well, because many people and communities look at the software supply chain itself, and there are not many conversations around how to make sure we think about the security risks within CI/CD systems, pipelines themselves, and how to make sure actors with different interests don't exploit our CI/CD systems. And while I was reading that white paper, I noticed you also created the CI/CD code that increased my interest as well, because that was kind of a real way to play with these things. And then that's how we got talking about your visit to our SIG. And with that, I pass the word to you, Daniel, or Ömer, or both of you.
Yeah, sure. So hi, everyone. Thanks for hosting us. We have a short deck that we'll use, but maybe before we begin, how much time do we have? Just so we set expectations.
Well, normally we try to use half of the meeting, 30 minutes for the presentation and discussion, but the topic is interesting and we have lots of people here, so we can use the entire meeting if we get questions or we have a good conversation. So feel free to use the entire meeting.
Yeah, all right. So I'll share my my screen. 1 second. So I'm Daniel, this is Omer. We're from Cicd Security. We're based in Tel Aviv, both of us, Tel Aviv, Israel. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of context about Cicd, in case you haven't heard of us. And then we dive into both the top 10 CI/CD security risks initiative and the CI/CD GOAT that we released, I think, a month or 2 months after we released the top 10. And of course, feel free to interrupt if you have any questions or thoughts down the way. So Cicd is a cybersecurity startup from Israel. We kicked off our journey about almost a year and a half ago. We're based out of Tel Aviv in Israel, with a little bit of presence in Europe and in North America. We're 70 employees. And besides being a catchy 5-letter word, we're called Cicd because the area of focus for us is CI/CD security. A lot of the founding fathers and mothers of Cicd came from the enterprise security and specifically the application security domain. I'm one of the founders, together with Guy Flechtel, who was the CISO at AppsFlyer, a big Israeli unicorn. And we felt throughout the years how the application security domain has developed, or the challenges that application security practitioners face have really changed ever since DevOps and CI/CD became prevalent and became a commodity. The engineering ecosystem has changed a lot over the past, I would say, 3, 4, 5 years, with larger diversity in the technical stack that's used for development and the technical stack that's used for deployment. A lot less manual processes, a lot more automations. The time it takes to adopt new technologies is a lot shorter, a lot more usage of third parties. And so the ecosystem has evolved a lot and created a lot more challenges and a lot more opportunities for attackers to abuse engineering processes to get to production. And the objective of Cider in our mission statement is to empower application security practitioners to really address the current challenges of application security, having to do both with the security of the code and weaving in all the appropriate measures and controls to make sure that we're not shipping code with security flaws, code or any type of other artifact with security flaws or security misconfigurations to production, but also that we're looking at our engineering ecosystem from the attacker's perspective, understanding the types of risks and the types of activities that attackers would carry out and be able to abuse within our engineering ecosystem, and then help organizations uplift their CI/CD posture of each and every individual system involved in the CI/CD process, and of course the way they interact and communicate with each other. And obviously this is all bundled together within one single platform. And a big part of what we're doing in Cider, besides developing a technology that helps AppSec practitioners meet today's challenges, is also really spend a lot of time thinking about how we can empower the community and how we can help create knowledge and spark discussions within the community about the new flavor of risks around CI/CD. We've all witnessed, I think, in the past year or two, some really high magnitude and high exposure attacks and flaws, like the SolarWinds hack, like dependency confusion, like CodeCov, like, you know, the biweekly compromise of an NPM or Python package that's downloaded by millions of users and CI systems. And so the CI or the CI/CD ecosystem has become a really big target for attackers. And I think defenders lack not only the right technologies, but also the right knowledge in order to cope and tackle these challenges. And so this is why we were highly motivated to get to work on projects like the top 10, like the CI/CD GOAT, to help defenders and the InfoSec community have good knowledge and good capabilities to understand the characteristics of today's risks and challenges. That's Cider in a nutshell. Any questions or comments before I move on to the top 10? Okay. So Omer and I led the top 10 CI/CD security risks initiative. It was obvious to us, Omer and I were at Cider from day one, and it was obvious for us, coming from an AppSec background, being exposed to the projects like the OWASP top 10 and the serverless security top 10, and their impact on the community and how they contributed to making the ecosystems or domains they addressed more secure. And obviously we knew that creating an artifact that gathers all of the different risks and the technical characteristics of the different risks around the CI/CD ecosystem would have a tremendous impact and would be very helpful to the needs of the community. So the motivation was really to create the equivalent of the OWASP top 10 or the serverless security top 10, only focused on CI/CD security risks. And the way we chose to tackle the challenge, obviously CI/CD processes and systems and environments are very different, and they vary, depending on on the different sizes of organizations and verticals, and every organization has different types of challenges and different levels of knowledge and capabilities to cope with a challenge. And so one of the guiding principles for us was to make sure we're making the top 10 CI/CD security risks as relevant as possible to as many people and as many types of environments and technical stacks as possible. So the first thing we did was gather together, and I'll show this to you in the document later, but we gathered together as many details and documentations about different types of hacks and security flaws that revolved around the CI/CD space. We analyzed the anatomy of CI/CD hacks and CI/CD flaws, and I think it was, I don't know, it was many dozens of these technical blogs and resources and read-ups that we analyzed and summarized and gathered the different types of flaws and the different types of behaviors that attackers carried out. We combined that with many CI/CD environments and many organizations that we worked with before our tenure at CIDR and during our tenure at CIDR. So, you know, we're fortunate enough to be in a position where we're analyzing different types of CI/CD environments and deployments and setups and configurations on a daily basis. And we partnered with many of the organizations that we worked with to understand some of the common denominators and some of the more prevalent challenges that organizations face. And then what we did was work with 15 industry experts around their view of the types of challenges that they faced throughout their careers and in their positions. We worked with Adrian, the CISO of Atlassian, and Asta, who leads AppSec at Netflix, and many other prominent figures in the AppSec industry, with that same motivation to not be reliant on our own knowledge and experience solely, but to make sure that when we're gathering this huge artifact together, that we're making sure that we're as diligent as possible and making sure that, you know, we gather as many perspectives as possible. And so what we did was fuse that knowledge and those insights coming from the discussions with the industry experts, from the research and analysis of environments that we did, from reading and analyzing the anatomy of different types of attacks, flaws, hacks. And the result is this project, the top 10 CI/CD risk initiative. There's a website for it. So obviously there are 3 types of ways to consume the top 10 CI/CD risks project. This is a short intro. The first is the website. The second is the PDF. And the third is the GitHub repo, which I'll show you in a sec. So this is just a short intro into the changes that have occurred over the past years in the CI/CD ecosystem and their ramifications or their meaning from the security perspective, the types of hacks and exposures that we as defenders witnessed, and then the actual risks. Each risk, we have a consistent format for the risks. So for example, this is the first risk, insufficient flow control mechanisms. This risk specifically is relating to, as it is written here, how far can someone go? Can an adversary go down the CI/CD process and pipeline if they're able to obtain any set of permissions? What controls exist to prevent any single set of permissions from pushing malicious code or artifacts down the pipeline without any additional reviews or controls or approvals? So for each risk, we have the definition of the risk, a description, the impact from a cyber perspective, obviously what the attacker would be able to do, a set of recommendations, technical recommendations that organizations and defenders should buy the domain cider.io. Technical recommendations that organizations could carry out to cope with the risk, and then the references are the actual artifacts that I mentioned earlier, the actual technical documents that we used, which contained abuse of that specific flaw or risk in question, and this format is consistent across each and every one of the risks that we have. We also have the repo, the GitHub repo for the project. We made sure that we not only have the website, but we have also the repo, because again, this is a contribution from us to the community, and the objective behind the repo is to allow anyone to contribute and share their thoughts, insights, knowledge, and ideas around this. So this project in GitHub has the exact same content of the document, the PDF, and the website that I showed earlier. This is the list of experts that collaborated with us on the effort. You can see they're coming from different positions, different verticals, different organizations, but a lot of prominent figures in the industry. And of course, the actual risks themselves. And again, the objective is for this to be a document that really sparks the discussion and helps the community steer the focus to the right direction as far as today's CICD risks and today's CICD security challenges that defenders face. As far as what happened since we published the project and what's next as far as the project, it was very well received by the community and resonated with a lot of people. We got a lot of great feedbacks around the document being very useful for the types of challenges that different types of organizations all over the world are facing. And obviously there are many different types of initiatives that are being carried out on top of this top 10 CICD security risks, like the discussion we're having now. A lot of people reached out to us to see how they can adapt the findings and the insights from this within their day-to-day, within their organizations. We talked about this in several podcasts and other types of meetups and gatherings. We're talking about this actually in San Francisco in less than a month in the RSA conference. We have a talk dedicated to the top 10. And we have many different discussions and forums and meetups here in Israel and abroad that are focused on talking about the top 10. Obviously, we're very keen and motivated to work with the Cicd Foundation and any other entity who is also passionate as we are about securing CICD, to see how we can work together to capitalize and to maximize on the potential of this. Because again, the feedback so far were really good, and we do believe that this does have a very good potential to have a strong impact, and it has already had a strong impact on the industry. Anything you want to add?
No, you've covered it pretty well. So maybe if you have any questions before we move on to the GOAT project.
Okay. So if there are any other questions, then we'll talk about the GOAT. You gonna share your screen or?
In a minute, you can leave it on the slides for a moment.
Okay.
Hi, I didn't introduce myself yet. So my name is Omer Gil. I also work at Cider Security, as Daniel said. I'm leading research here and participated in writing the top 10 security risks project, and also led internally with my team, also with Daniel and Asi, which is also on this call, and a few more people from Cider, the GOAT initiative, the GOAT project. For those of you who are less familiar with GOAT-like projects, which is an unofficial term for a specific type of projects. There are more than a few GOAT projects, which is like a deliberately vulnerable system or application or environment with the purpose of helping security practitioners or anyone else who likes to learn how to hack specific type of system or environment, to provide them with an environment that they can do that and learn how to hack, and then maybe also how to protect against specific types of risks. Some popular examples are the OWASP, for example, released I think more than one project, more than one GOAT project for deliberately vulnerable web applications. There is TerraGoat, released by it's Palo Alto, right?
Yeah, Bridge Crew.
Yeah, which is like a deliberately vulnerable Terraform code, which deploys infrastructure, obviously. So there are a few similar projects with the GOAT name. There's CloudGoat, for example, and we saw that when people talk about CICD risks and threats, so many times we hear about misconfigurations and best practices, but when you want to learn about practical ways of hacking CICD and how an actual hack in this domain looks like, it's not that easy or straightforward to understand. And if you want to do a hands-on assignment for that, there are not many options out there to practice that. Nearly a year ago, there were the DevOps Days conference in Israel. There's DevOps Days, as you know, in many countries around the world, and there's also one in Israel. And Cider, we meant to provide a workshop, to handle a workshop during DevOps Days, and we thought that creating a deliberately vulnerable CICD environment could be interesting for DevOps engineers and security engineers to practice on. So we gathered and thought about an interesting architecture that we can create, which can also be Docker-based, with all of the different systems that we usually see in CICD environments. There's a source control management system, there's a CI and a CD, and some system that simulates a production environment. And we're going to talk about specific architecture in a moment. And we prepared this environment, and we thought about a few challenges that we created over this framework that was created just for the purpose of this conference. And a few dozens of people arrived and joined us and participated in the workshop, and it was a pretty good success. I mean, there was really good feedback. It was something that they said it was a great workshop that they haven't got to see before. So we thought that it's a great opportunity to expand this project and make it open source and allow anyone in the world to practice on hacking CICD environments and to practically understand the risks. I mean, in the top 10 security risks project, we did a lot of work in gathering all of the knowledge that we can, everything that we think is relevant, and put everything in a concise way so anyone can consume. But it's not the same, like reading these materials is not the same like actually practicing it hands-on. This is why we created the Go to complete the top 10 initiative. We thought that when people practice it, it's much easier to consume this material. So we created this project. We decided to take what we prepared for the workshop and making it more stable, more and an open source, so anyone can participate and collaborate. I can show, maybe now I'll share my screen. Just a moment. I'll show you the project. Okay, so this is the Gita project. You can find it here. I can also you can share it in the chat maybe while we speak, so anyone can. This in the top 10 projects, so anyone can access it if they want to. This is the Cicd Go. You can find it in our GitHub organization. This in the top 10. It's in the same GitHub org. It got pretty good traction since when we released it. As you can see. And we already have some pull requests that were delivered and issues that were open and we already resolved. And we got some really good feedback on this project. You can see the architecture here. It's based on Gita, which is a light open source control mechanism for managing your code base, which is linked with Jenkins pipelines. There's another Jenkins agent, all based on containers. There's local stack to simulate AWS. We didn't want anyone to start deploying on AWS in order to use the environment. I wanted everything to be Docker-based and deployed on your own machines, which is much faster and easier to do and free. There's also another HTTP server here. And there's CTFD. CTFD is a framework for CDF, capture the flag challenges. I'm going to show it in a moment. This is where we manage the challenges. There are 10 different challenges here. Some are more easy to solve, some are more hard to solve. And you can run it wherever you want, since it's all, again, Docker-based. You can see the solutions here in case you get frustrated and you want to get on the short path to solve the challenges. But in general, it's really fun to read the challenges, to try and break through the Cicd to reach production or any other sensitive trophy that you need to catch. As a baseline, in each challenge, you need to get to a specific secret or hash or anything else. And put it in the CDFD system, and then you understand if you got it right or not. I can also show you a quick demo if you want. I'm going to use this solution so you can see how you can use it if you wanted to solve it. So as you can see here, this is one of the challenges. It's called the White Rabbit. Each of the challenges here is inspired by Alice in Wonderland. Including the description of the challenges. You can see that each challenge is also associated with one or more of the top 10 Cicd security risks from the initiative. Here you can see the CDFD platform. You can see all the challenges and decide with what you want to begin with. For example, we can start with an easy one, the White Rabbit. So you can see the description. In this case, we need to steal flag 1, which is a secret stored in Jenkins, in the Jenkins credential store. And you can use the different hints to solve it if it's too hard for you. And then eventually you put the flag that you find here. There's also a Gita where you can see all of the different repos. There are private repos and public repos and different organizations. There are really complex scenarios here in the more complex challenges. So it is recommended to start with the easy ones. And here there's the okay. Here you can see Jenkins with different pipelines for each challenge that you eventually probably need to execute malicious code there or whatever. I mean, right now we have like a user with really light permissions on Jenkins. And in most challenges, you need to leverage your permissions on the system or in AWS, which is local stack, not really AWS. So I can show a quick demo, which is really straightforward. You can see, again, it's the White Rabbit one. Let's say that you need to access the flag one secret stored in the Jenkins credential store, but you only have access to Gita. You have write permissions to the White Rabbit repository, which is linked with a pipeline on Jenkins. There's a pipeline for White Rabbit, but I can't do much with it. I mean, I can't modify its code or configuration. I'm not an admin on Jenkins. I can't access the credential stores directly. If I'll see the solution, I mean, go over it, I can see that the purpose is to conduct a direct poison pipeline execution attack. This is a term that we said in Cider, but it is an attack that was referenced a few times back by various people. We released a blog post on it a few months ago, and it's one of the top 10. It's one of the top 10 risks that we mentioned in the initiative. The meaning is really shortly is the ability to execute malicious code in the CI without directly accessing the CI by changing files in the source control. It could be the CI configuration file, like the Jenkins file if it's Jenkins, or other files referenced by the CI configuration file. You can create a pull request or push to an unprotected branch with the purpose of triggering a malicious pipeline where your malicious code is executed, and then from there you can access production or access secrets stored in that CI instance. And we see this type of attacks, which is out there. I mean, attackers that are able to put their hands on an access token for a GitHub or GitLab or an SSH key or a username and password, and they only have access to one user or even one repository on GitHub. If it's linked with a pipeline, it's much more than access to a repository. It's a gateway to your entire Cicd pipelines, to your CI/CD environment, and even to your production environment, because it's all linked together. And this is one of the messages that we want to deliver, that that access to your source control management system is not just access to your source code, which is serious enough, but it's much more than that. It's access to an entire ecosystem of the different CI/CD system and production system that are all linked together, working automatically with the different processes defined by the organization. So if we'll get back to the challenge, which is a really straightforward one, I can see that this White Rabbit repository contains a Jenkins file, which might lead on the fact that it's linked with a pipeline on Jenkins. In this specific scenario, I also have direct access to Jenkins with low permissions, but so I can see that it's actually linked, but I can't do anything on Jenkins directly. But I do have permissions for the White Rabbit repository. So if I modify the Jenkins file and ask it to access the flag1 credential, in this case, I just print it, but I can also obviously send it to a remote server that I control in case I don't have access to Jenkins, which is the case in many cases of an actual hack. I'm really brave that I'm presenting a live demo here, so bear with me. I mean, it always fails, right? But I decided to not show you a pre-recorded video, but let's do this. So I create a pull request. Where is it? Okay, new pull request. Changing the Jenkins file to print the secret. Then I'll move on to Jenkins. To the relevant pipeline. You can see that a pipeline was triggered and it failed. Of course, our demo has to fail, but okay. Let's see what happened here. Maybe I didn't copy it right. Okay, I won't waste your time, but maybe there's a syntax error here. Oh, yeah, I moved the first line. My bad. I'm gonna have to. I wonder if I need to waste your time or the point was made, but there was a syntax error here. I need to keep these first line here, these first line here. So I'll skip it for now. But the main point is that eventually this pipeline would run. Then I'll be able to view the secret from the console output or from a remote server that I send this secret to. Then I get this secret and send it and insert it here. I submit it and I can tell that I got it right. This is a really straightforward challenge, but there are really complex challenges here, like code execution for pipelines or bypassing auto-merge rules. Similar to the CodeCov hack or to the hack of Brew, the Brew project, some of these challenges were inspired by actual hacks or write-ups about security vulnerabilities that were found and reported. So it's pretty cool, and I really recommend you to try it out. Anything you want to add, Daniel?
No, this is, I mean, just to reiterate on the fact that this is something that we built to help, just like the Top 10 project, to help spark the discussions and really contribute to the community so that we have more people talking about CI/CD security, more people experiencing it, and you know, making the general state of CI/CD security better. And this is again why this is on GitHub, and we have encouraged and we continue to encourage anyone who's interested to participate, and you know, hopefully this will be something that other contributors outside of SIG would be able to add their own challenges to and customize. And we've already received some feedbacks and ideas and insights, and also a lot of teams that have spent quite some time solving these challenges. And so, yeah, we're looking forward to see, you know, the potential of both the GOAT and the Top 10. We believe we're just scratching the surface for both projects as far as the potential and how many people are excited by these initiatives. And obviously we're also very appreciative and excited about the fact that you know, that you approached us and asked us to talk about this today. And we would love to hear your ideas and thoughts and insights about what we presented to you, but also what you believe are some ways that we can help promote this or you know, put this to good use.
Thanks, Daniel, Ömer. Any questions to Daniel and Ömer, both about top 10 CI/CD security risks and CI/CD code, or comments? You are muted, Mary, I think.
It's the headset, yeah. Yeah, I like it. I mean, it seems like something I'd like to play around with myself, but like how could we integrate this with the work that we're doing here? I'm not sure. What do you guys think?
Was that a question to us or?
The group.
Okay.
Yeah, this, I think, again, this is related to this proof of concept thing, the discussions we have been having, Daniel, Ömer, so you get the context. And one of the things as part of our SIG proposal was to look at this type of topics as well, not just like what gets produced by our CI/CD pipelines or production systems, but also the CI/CD systems as well. and the work you have done and the the project CI/CD code is pretty relevant to why we went and proposed this special interest group. So how to bring it into what we are doing here, like similar to what we discussed with Secure Software Factory folks like Mike Lieberman and others, also CNCF Tag App Security, Tag App Delivery group. I think we could take a look at what is there under CI/CD code and think of making that part of our proof of concept system and pipelines we are bringing up. Like it is not just about the stuff we are producing on our pipelines, but also include these aspects, the challenges and so on. So when people bring up such an environment, they can look at both things, both the CI/CD itself as well as what goes through CI/CD. I don't know if it makes sense. It obviously increases the scope, but yeah, I think we have lots of things we can collaborate on and play with, especially seeing after the demo. I know what others think, but yeah, I'm personally pretty interested in doing things this project.
It could interleave with Salsa in a way, like Salsa's like, here's what you should do with your supply chain, and this is sort of like, here's what you should not do with your supply chain, right? Here are all the counterexamples. I wonder how they map, or if they map nicely to the Salsa goals and objectives.
Actually, that is a really good point. Like Salsa, is there anything like this, like different levels for CI/CD system security? Like I know Salsa doesn't talk about these in detail, at least when I checked last time.
Yeah, I think Salsa is, I mean, obviously we're familiar with Salsa, and it's still evolving. I think it's still in the the project itself is amazing. It's still in the relatively early phases of its maturity. And so we're curious to see where it will evolve to. And obviously we're drawing a lot of inspiration from it. And we do believe it has the potential to be something that serves as a benchmark to organizations as far as where they are in terms of their supply chain security controls and what they need to do to be at a better place. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I think the Salsa is really coming at it from the builder's perspective or defender's perspective. These projects are more focused on helping defenders have a better view of the attacker's perspective. But yeah, I mean, if you guys have any ideas on different types of collaboration or fusion between them, then we're really motivated to do whatever we can to get this to collaborate with anyone that's interested in collaborating with us on this.
There was this one thing that you showed where someone can actually go into this pipeline and then just print out the credentials, right? So that is an issue that we actually have with Jenkins X, which is why we don't show the pipeline logs to users. So this was very nice to see that this is one of the tests or one of the checks. So yeah.
Yeah, that brings up an additional question to you, Daniel and Ömer. Like, I think Ankit, you asked a similar question when we were having the Secure Software Factory presentation, and that initiative picked Tekton as their, CI/CD tool. As you know, CDF is home to like Tekton, Spinnaker, Jenkins, Jenkins X, Screwdriver. Like, I suppose, like, if we try to do something similar for Tekton, just an example, that could be contributed to your repo, to CI/CD code. So if people want to do similar things with Tekton instead of Jenkins, they can, do that
Yeah.
in a similar way. Yeah.
Right. So we like Jenkins X can be like installed on a local like Kubernetes cluster. So you can have it installed on say like Minikube or like A3S. So we can probably do like something like that. I don't know how well we support like Gita. Like the last time I checked, it did not really work that well. But that is something that we can fix. So yeah, that would be nice. Or we can just use like like GitHub like a personal like GitHub account for the tests, so, and then eventually improve. Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you for the demo. That was great, and for talking about the project. I'm quite excited to have a go at the challenges. And similar to Anne-Marie, I was thinking of how it could work with more best practice standards. And I know that Terry's been working quite a lot on within our best practices SIG. So maybe Terry, you have something, ideas of how it could fit with the work that you're doing now.
Well, we can certainly give some thought to how we might be able to integrate that. If nothing else, we do provide a resources section in best practices where we could potentially link out to that as a further source of information.
Yeah, I think also I mentioned this just briefly, but obviously the projects are coming from the attacker's perspective, but they're oriented towards defenders, and so we do have quite a lengthy section on within each and every one of the top 10 risks about the types of controls and measures that defenders can take to cope with those risks. So if you think of a way, I mean, if it's useful for you to take this information and to embed it into any one of the other initiatives that you're doing, then I think that's, I mean, we'd be happy to help if this is something that you think could be useful. Okay.
Okay.
So thanks for hosting us.
Yeah, thanks out for joining. Like, I am just going to ask one more time, like, any other comments or questions from anybody else before we start wrapping up the meeting. Okay, so Daniel, Ömer, I have your mail addresses now. I don't have to go through LinkedIn anymore. So I will definitely reach out to you when I have questions, but please feel free to join to our Slack channel. We have a channel for software supply chain SIG there. I'm sure you know CDF Slack. If not, I can share the Slack invite with you. And as Anne-Marie highlighted, I think we have opportunities to collaborate, like bring these aspects into the work we are doing to our discussions. As I noted at the very beginning, the conversation is around a lot of the stuff that goes through the pipelines or the CI/CD systems. But what about the CI/CD systems themselves? That is an interesting aspect, and we could perhaps look at contributing to overall effort to improve the state of software supply chain. So again, thank you very much for joining our meeting and presenting the top 10 CI/CD security risks as well as CI/CD code. And
Sure.
yeah.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, thanks again. We have 8 minutes left. I don't think we will have time to go through the remaining 2 topics, but I can quickly browse through the HackMD document we have there, so everyone knows what we are talking about. And thanks again for Terry, your comments there. I hope you can see this. So this is the document we are talking about. And the news I promised to give is I am looking for resources to start bringing up this POC. So if any of you are interested, get access to Secure Software Factory deployment, just reach out to me on Slack so I can share access details with you once we have the deployment there. And you can go and play with Secure Software Factory, create new type of things, and perhaps look for ways to contribute them back to Secure Software Factory. So that is one thing, to get an actual deployment, to play with things. The other thing is about if we should think of moving this document or turning this document to a pull request, because I haven't received any notifications from HackMD. Terry, you didn't receive notifications either. So we can perhaps move this to GitHub and have better collaboration there. So that is one topic. Let me put the link to chat as well so everyone can take a look at it while we move the document. And the other topic was the pull requests I sent. Thanks, Anne-Marie. It's great that you are here today with us. I simply went and a few more or 3 stages into the stages terminology you had in the interoperability document. And you already provided some comments there. So if anyone else wants to go and check what is there and provide comments, please do that. So that was the other topic, stage PR. I haven't included any steps on this PR on purpose because I want to get feedback from all of you if these stages make sense or not. And then I already include some comments from Terry and from others during our previous meeting here. And once we say, yeah, these 3 stages make sense, then we can think of talking about like steps to go even more detailed approach to the pipelines, like how Anne-Marie did with other steps. So both of these things are available on HackMD and on GitHub. So please feel free to go and add your feedback directly on them.
By the way, I did get a little bit of useful information on the steps. Like you could imagine, we're trying to do some logic around these step and stage, well, mostly the step types, the lower level ones, like saying, okay, if you have run somebody's static application security tester, then you're good, right? There could be a temptation to almost build like a dependency tree of these things, like say there's subtypes of these, but the feedback that we got from somebody who's done a lot of work in build systems before is that we should try to keep it flat. Like we don't want a tree of step types, we just want a flat list, because when you get into dependency trees, it gets super hard to process them. So, just something to keep in mind that I didn't think of initially.
So it's been quite some time. I last time checked, like, do we need to make some adjustments in the existing steps there? I don't remember.
Right now, it's a flat list, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we should just keep it simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some of the steps I had in mind about this pipeline, supply chain stages, you already have some of those steps that could be reused under these stages as well, like building your own dependencies. That is simply a build step, which you already described, input, output, and everything. Yeah. So it kind of fits nicely to what is there. Yeah.
Right. We should definitely reuse the steps, but you wouldn't want like a build OSS step, which is a type of a build step or something like that. That would just be, it gets into a mess to try to deal with that kind of logic.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, so thanks a lot for that. So like, I don't know, like, how should we go ahead with this PR? Like, if anyone in this meeting or anyone else has any major concerns, then please highlight them here, because like the things are in the details. Starting to look into steps will really help us to see what we already know about or think of doing, and what we may be missing, because someone has come and say, okay, you have all these great steps here, building stuff and scanning the source code for vulnerabilities or identifying licenses, but what about these things? And that could be, a new step which we all missed, perhaps doing some specific thing. So if no one else had anything else to add, I want to thank all of you for joining today. And before I let all of you go, we will have a presentation on a new project, Cartographer, during our next meeting, which will be on 26th of May. And it was originally James Rawlings. We planned him to present the project to us. He was a contributor to special interest group interoperability and Jenkins X and all these things. But unfortunately, he won't be able to do it make it to our meeting, but two of his colleagues will join to our next meeting and talk about Cartographer, which also talks about supply chains, like all of us. So please join the next meeting if you want to see what this project is about and talk with the people behind the project. Thanks again for joining today, and talk to you in 2 weeks. Have a nice rest of your day. Thank you very much.